I'm here for years want to get a baby, and I will speak about my baby. I am excited of my first fruit daughter.
Let signs and wonders, miracles follow you.
Welcome to WAFIF Connect. Here's your host.
Hi, blessings everyone. Marsha Goodenweathers here from the Worship and Faith International Fellowship Counseling Department. And I'd love us to just have a brief talk on mental recovery after a natural disaster. So we would be pretty familiar with natural disasters, right? We usually consider them as acts of God. Things are really significant and out of our control, like an earthquake, like flooding, even the hurricane, and we are pretty much dealing with the aftermath of it, Hurricane Melissa. Natural disasters, they have real impacts, real disastrous impacts on our lives as we know it. That's what natural disasters are, and they're really out of our control. And because they can have such a great impact on us, they may lead us to having mental health challenges. So it's important that we not just get relief from our physical issues or our need for shelter and need for food and water, but we also need to ensure that mentally we are coping well, we are showing that resilience, and we're bouncing back. Yeah, that's really, really important. So when I speak about our mental recovery, what I'm really referring to is our emotional well-being, right? Our feelings, our thinking ability, our ability to concentrate, our behaviors, because that will also impact our relationships and how well we can function in different areas with our work, with our family, etc. Right? So it's important that we function well in that area. But when we are faced with a natural disaster, it can really cause us to have intense emotional responses. And especially if we realize that that natural disaster was life-threatening, it caused us harm, or it potentially caused us harm, that's when we may actually experience what we call trauma, right? So that emotional response to such an extremely negative event, such as a natural disaster, is what we refer to as trauma. Okay? And the trauma that we may experience from natural disasters can have a lasting impact on us psychologically, emotionally, right? It may cause us to have a greater sense of fear, of loss, and just uncertainty in life, and what we can expect from life. So there are so many reactions that we can have after a natural disaster, and it's important for us to understand what to look for so we can know even how to recover. So there's a framework called the Pieces Framework that we can use just to help us to understand how it is that we respond to these really negative experiences that we may have after natural disaster. And even though we're looking at mental recovery, we're going to look at it in different areas because the different aspects or different pieces of us can be impacted, and they can in turn have an impact on our mental health. So the P in pieces, so it's an acronym, right? So we're going to look at each of them, see how we may be affected after being exposed to a natural disaster, and see how we can bounce back in each of the areas, right? So P stands for physical factors. I is for interpersonal factors. E is for emotional. C is for cognitive. The other E is for environmental, and S is for spiritual, right? So let's go through them one by one and see how we can show that mental recovery by looking at each of them, right? Because we are interrelated. Our mental health is not in a vacuum. It is connected to our physical well-being. So our physical well-being, we're talking about our health, right? We're talking about our ability to sleep well. How tired are we? Are we having aches? Are we having pains? Is our appetite changing? Because those things can have an impact on our thought processes, on our ability to concentrate, and so on. So we want to get in touch with ourselves. We want to assess what it is that we are experiencing. We want to ask, Like literally examine ourselves. How, am I eating okay? Am I sleeping well? Right? Am I in any excess pain or in any extra pain than what I was in before? It's important for us to be really observant of ourselves to see what is going on within our bodies. Because sometimes, for instance, if it is that we're having a hormonal imbalance or we notice our heart is beating, faster than usual, or we're getting this shortness of breath, it can affect our emotions, probably leading to us feeling more anxious and so on, right? So we need to keep in touch or be aware of what we are experiencing physically within our bodies. And then we want to look at our interpersonal factors. So we look at our relationships. We look at how we get along with others. Our relationships are so key with people because none of us is an island, right? None of us stands alone. So when we are faced with disaster, though, it can change how we interact with those around us. We may get more miserable, we may get more withdrawn. So we want to be aware of how our relationships are being affected. Am I staying by myself a bit more? Am I being a bit more invasive in person's personal space? What changes am I experiencing, right? And when it is that we experience natural disasters, peer support is going to be very important. It's important for us to know that we are not alone, that we are not in a vacuum just experiencing disaster by ourselves. So it's important for us to ask for help, right? To use up the community that we have around us. It could be our church, it could be our family. It's important for us to get that help and to know that we are not alone. Yeah, man, you are not alone through this. And those interpersonal factors will filter over into our emotions. So emotionally, our relationships do have an impact on us. So that's the E in pieces, emotional factors. When we are faced with a disaster, it can cause us to become more fearful. It can cause us to feel very sad about what we might have lost, right? We may feel hopeless, like, there is no point, we just can't bother again, just because of the different experience we had and how intense it was. One of the things that's going to be important for us is to be supportive of each other as we navigate this time. So I want to normalize our emotional experience by saying things like, boy, it's okay to feel upset or to feel sad about what happened. It makes sense because it was a really bad experience, right? So want to normalize what persons are experiencing and help them to know that it is okay because it is an expected emotional reaction to a bad experience, right? And we also want to practice ways of expressing our emotions, whether through writing, like keeping a journal, or using art forms like drawing or painting, singing. We want to get those emotions out and express ourselves fully. We don't want to keep things inside and then, things are just pent up within us. We don't want that. We want to express our emotions in healthy ways, right? And the other piece is C, which would be our cognition. So there are different cognitive factors, and cognitive factors are really referring to our thoughts, right? Our ability to memorize things, our ability to concentrate on things. That's what we're referring to here. So again, we want to reflect and say, am I having a hard time focusing on my schoolwork since I was faced with this natural disaster? What is something that I need to do to help me to get back on track? So when it comes on to our cognition, if it is that we're having a difficulty remembering things, because that is something that can really happen based on the trauma that we might have been exposed to, you may want to create a schedule. You may want to set specific times when you do specific things daily, because that can help you to create a routine, help you to have some form of normalcy, and can also help you to remember those important things that you don't want to forget. So there are just simple things that you can do to help you to think more clearly. So as simple as writing things down. As simple as having a schedule and sticking to that schedule, that is going to be important. The other E is for emotional factors. So what's happening in your environment? Is there water? Do you have shelter? Is your school up and running? All of those things can impact on your mental recovery. And one of the things that we're going to have to do is be really practical. So can I go forth and offer some assistance to clean up a space? Maybe my school or my church got damaged. Can I do something to help clean up that space? Because even being in that space and offering service can help us in our mental recovery. Because we're not just thinking about ourselves and our own experience, but we're giving of ourselves to another group, right? And that can help in our recovery process. So it's important for us to be open in helping to create, safe spaces. That's going to be very, very key. And some of these environmental factors, like a school which needs to be rebuilt or a church, it will take time to be fixed. So we also have to be patient with the process and realize that, as they would say, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So some of these situations may not be able to be resolved at the same time, but we can take small steps to getting it moving in that, direction of recovery and it being rebuilt. And now we come to S, which is referring to those spiritual factors. Because when it is that we're faced with natural disaster, it can really give us a sense of hopelessness, like we're really wondering, what is the point? I worked so hard, for my home, and now I just lose it, right? I worked so hard to study and to have my books and go to school and know everything went up. What is the point? It can really cause us to almost lose meaning if we're not careful. So it's going to be important when we are faced with such challenges to remember our spiritual values, our spiritual beliefs, those memory verses, that were really encouraging to us. Like, for instance, when Jesus said, "My peace I leave with you," right? "My peace I give to you." When Jesus was encouraging his disciples, maybe there are some comforting words from biblical texts that we can use. Whatever it is important for us to reflect on what we value and what we believe, and to know that we also have a support within our faith group, within our church community. So that's going to be really, really important in helping us to recover. So whether it is your physical recovery, your relationships in terms of interpersonal recovery, your emotional recovery, your cognitive recovery, your environmental recovery, or your spiritual recovery, you are worthy of that love. You are worthy of care. You are worthy of investing in those areas of your life so that you can take your time, take it one day at a time, and recover and reset and rebuild. Yes? As the songwriter says, with Christ in the vessel, we can smile at the storm. It's not easy, but we will get through this. Yes, you can recover after the storm. Blessings.
For counseling and support, contact the WAFIF Counseling Department at 876-551-1901. Our team is here to listen, guide, and to care for you.
Just heard WAFIF Connect, a program about the supernatural, where you get your miracles now. That's right, real stories from real people with real results. And aired on this station Monday to Friday at 4:30 p.m. with Apostle Courtney McLean and our campus pastors, Reverend Kimola Brownlow of WAFIF Fort Lauderdale, Reverend Kenroy Waldo, WAFIF Clarendon, and Reverend Tennyson Dixon of WAFIF Canada. And produced by WAFIF, Worship and Faith International.